And strengthening the economy is still one of the issues we're looking at this time around, the digital economy. Now, in the face of global economic shifts and technological advancement, Nigeria is gradually adapting to the era of digital revolution. The country's digital economy is poised to drive economic growth, create jobs, and foster innovation, which is a major step into the country's development. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has indicated his commitment to promoting the growth of ICT and the digital economy for the shared prosperity of all Nigerians and appointed Bosun Tijani to head the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy in Nigeria. With improvements in the digital connectivity, digital skills, digital financial services, and other core areas of digital development, Nigeria can fully unleash new economic opportunities, create jobs, and transform people's lives. Well, joining us in the studio is technology expert and CEO, Soft City Group, Stephen Unia. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, has been speaking about his plans, and there has been reaction to that. In fact, if you look at some of the reactions, there are those who think that he might make bold moves and have good intentions, but not without the threats, attendant threats to some of the things he has decided to do. And I am wondering, from the statements he has made, perhaps what stood out for you from some of the reforms he has spoken about, talking about having an open internet in Africa that Africans can benefit from, including Nigeria. There are those who are concerned, especially that aspect.
Okay, we've all heard all these things online, and we want the minister to know something. The digital economy of Nigeria is not in isolation. Okay. It's a part of a bigger global economy. Now, I am one of those that believe he has the capacity to do the job. And he has also, started well. But this is Nigeria. We've been here for how long? It's not everybody that go on their mark, get set, and when they go, some of them don't even get to the finish line. So I'm not the type that get excited by starting the way you started. All these plans, all these strategies, all this partnership, they are an indication of a good start. But eventually, it's going to face forces that are a lot bigger than Nigeria. Because, you see, the internet is an ecosystem that is beyond Nigeria. And some of us have argued. You see, there are different types of digital economy. There are self-sustaining digital economy, where the infrastructures, the competence, everything is indigenous to the country, like the United States, like China. Sure, they have their own Google, they have their own social media in China. You see, the kind of digital economy we have in Nigeria is a dependent one.
Yeah, right.
It's a dependent one. We are dependent on the internet backbone of the Western powers. We are dependent on the computational research of the Western powers. We are dependent on everything. You see, people always get it mixed up. Dr. Bosun is an innovation expert. And we shouldn't mix that up in any way. You understand? What he is doing is promoting it. You see, it takes 2 months, say 6 months to 2 years to build any innovative product, whether a mobile app or web app, anything you want to do. 6 months, 2 years. But to build technology, it takes years of computational research, years of capacity engineering that they've done overseas that we are just benefiting from. So it's not too exciting for someone like me. I don't get moved by the partnership, by the starting point. We want to see you in 2 years so we can measure your achievements, and that's basically it.
And what would be the priority for you? Because a takeaway from what you said so far is, okay, he's spoken fine, but, action is also critical. And some would also say, what is he saying differently that other ministers, his predecessors have said, and we saw how much, from an insider perspective as yourself now, you may be able to assess how well they went, but the perception out there is that they didn't do so well despite their promises. But what would be critical for you if in 2 years' time, we are here again to talk about this?
Okay. It's the same thing for me, institutionalization. You need to institutionalize computing and technology in Nigeria. Very important. And capacity. And I'm going to give an example from experience. I work with teams across the world. And you see some graduates, some of them, they study computer engineering. And when you interview them, they know everything in the software development life cycle. They are not coming to say, I can write programs. You see, Nigeria is the only place where a computer scientist will downscale himself now a front-end developer. They have different titles. You understand? We don't have an institutional system. And you see, let me give you an analogy. You see, we somewhat have a scientific inheritance in oil. It's a scientific inheritance. I think it was discovered in the 1950s. The same in Saudi Arabia, 1930s. Some experts across the world have clearly said data is the new oil. It's the oil of the future. And the world's data is currently in possession of a few countries. By data residency principles, it's in possession of few companies and few countries. And I use not rocket science for all to understand that the asset of the future is already being designed as a repository, resident in some unique and limited number of companies and countries. You see, energy is going to be, the problem of energy in the world will be solved. And this is our over-dependence on oil, even whether we like it or not. This is a scientific inheritance. And data is being aggregated at the moment. And when I see young Nigerians, I want to see capacity. Leave all this funding. Because I'm not the type that get moved by, we made $1 million here. You see, if you notice what will happen in the future, I stand to be corrected. You see, we are not going to have businessmen in this country in this future, like the likes of Chief Razak Okoya, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Dr. Cosmas Maduka. We're not going to have them because what you have now are idealists. They come up with an idea, they build a smart app, they raise some fund, and they exit. The business just goes on. We don't have legacy systems, so legacy businesses, legacy enterprise anymore.
Why is that?
Because it's all about mama's job. No, you come up with
it's a mindset thing.
And it's a generational thing. You see, it's good to raise funds. We can't do without it. We need, I work with a lot of smart innovators to build innovative products for them. And when I quiz them a little, I just want to know what's in your mind. And you see, I want to build, do Series A funding, do Series B funding, and exit. They have no long-term plan to be a businessman. We're going to end up in a situation where we don't even have legacy businesses in this country again. Because it's now all about ideation, fundraising, and exit. And I mean no disrespect to the Honorable Minister. He also knows, and he's also trying to promote that.
How do we change that?
That's why you see, the problem we have in this country is pure disregard for the foundation of computing in Nigeria. It's a pure disregard for foundation. You see, these smart innovators, these very intelligent chaps, they would rather see a Mark Zuckerberg and basically. But when they see the likes of maybe Professor Nico Sofison, they don't understand the foundation of computing in Nigeria. You see, they don't have an understanding of what makes an ecosystem and the kind of computational structure that is sustainable in the long term. I am one of the few, or most, that argue that Silicon Valley have a lot to learn from what they are doing in the Southeast entrepreneurship system. The Igbo entrepreneurial network, Silicon Valley can learn from them. But the truth is, here, you see them crawl around Mark Zuckerberg, wherever way but when they see people who have built foundation of computing, they think it's about Google search. You graduate today, you've done Google search for 7 months, you're a professional. It's challenging because the foundation of computing in this country was laid by some people. Forget whether you are more modernized with AI, you are more modernized with machine learning. Some people paid that price. And the fact that we don't have a structure, does not allow us to understand the reason why we have to institutionalize capacity in this country. Because look at the smart guys that have eventually developed some capacity. They leave the country for us.
Yeah.
It's a see. They leave. They'll go to Canada and go and practice software engineering. You know, it's even so hard these days when you train a young talent. They will be telling you, sir, I'm leaving in 3 years. I'm just trying to learn from you. They will tell you up front. They're not lying. They're not deceiving you. And you also know. We already know. We don't even attempt to train them for more than 3 years. We know in 3 years we need to have a plan.
Where does that leave us as a country? Because you said it's the new oil, but with these realities on ground, where does that leave us? And the direction of the administration, is there hope that, you know, the tide may turn, you know, better for us?
You see, when you say direction of the administration, we don't have a direction. We have a good start, an absolutely good start. I'm one of those that won't deceive anybody. The plans for partnership, which the minister have initiated at the current United Nations General Assembly, the plans of Bola Ahmed, that is a very good start. But before we start talking of direction, move first. That's when we'll know the direction you're headed. You understand? We need that to be clear. Now, you see, some people don't understand that the internet is what we call, in practice, a networked intelligence economy. It's a networked intelligence economy. That's what the internet is. It's even so serious that some of us don't know that the GPS we enjoy on our phone, the GPS that we just turn it on and off, it costs at least the United States approximately over $2 million to sustain every day. It's a free service for us if you have a GPS receiver. Now, it's an economy. We shouldn't think everything is free. And if you look at the trend, you see, some of us in practice, we don't only innovate, we research, we build technology. You see, look at it. Facebook is launching premium products. Netflix have increased pricing. Twitter is, Google is, they're all increasing because eventually these things we are getting for free, we will pay for them. And I've seen some content writers, I don't agree. They say it's called digital colonialism. I don't agree. There's a better word for that. There's a better way to describe it. They call it digital colonialism. It's not digital colonialism.
So what do you call it?
You want to put me on the hot seat. So I'll just call it innovation. It's just innovation. And you see, to innovate, I will give you the different categories. You see, when you're innovating, it takes 6 months, 2 years. When there's nothing you want to build, mobile app, web app, 2 years max, you will build it. Technology, to build technology requires years of computational research, years of capacity engineering, years of liability forecast, design thinking. It takes a long time to do that. If we don't, you see, we have what we usually call, I don't know how defunct it is now, the Digital Bridge Institute in this country. It's more becoming a carcass of itself. You see, there has been an attempt to try and institutionalize computational capacity in this country. We've tried, some past government. But you see, it's clear that the forces are not as simple as we all think. You know?
Who are these forces, or what are these forces?
Well, what I mean is it's the global economy, the forces of demand supply. It's a global economy. See, you cannot separate the digital economy from the capital economy. You can't. You can't separate it. It's a part of it. The difference, why we call it digital, is because people adopt technology for production, distribution, and consumption. Nothing else for trade. That's why we call it digital economy. It is still a part of the bigger economy. And some people are forecasting recession for the big powers. Some people are, where we are with our naira. We are doing our best. We know, and it's not a Nigerian thing. If you know, it's a global, the economic situation of the world, COVID gave us a new reality. And everybody is now in a state of shock recovery. So you can't separate digital economy or isolate innovation. You can't do that. It's an economy that is dependent on the network intelligence of the world. You see, let all of us, all we innovators, mention 100 things we use for innovation that it was purely made in Nigeria or made in Africa. None. Even our telcos, all the infrastructures you installed to do didn't you import them? And there's nothing wrong in being a dependent economy. That's the way the world works. It's the forces of demand and supply. Now, what balances this equation are policies and strategic thinking. There's nothing wrong in being independent. We can't make it all. You can't reinvent it.
And that will shape how we move.
That will shape how we move. I am one of those that believe that we finally stand a chance of equal competition globally. We can compete because, you see, technology gives us a level playing field. There's no, unlike maybe medicine, there are some equipment they have overseas that we don't have here. Unlike maybe engineering, there are some things they have. You see, computing, there's nothing they have here that I cannot access on the internet here. So it's a level playing field. For the first time, everybody has an equal opportunity. Everything is available to you. Carry your internet and do it. But the problem is we don't engineer the capacity locally. So when people brandish, I reach $500 million, I don't even pay attention because what is my business with $500 million? It's not the money. Please, I'm not an economist, but is it the money that's our problem? Where is the capacity? You know, most people don't know. We recruit. I hire and fire. And God forgive me, because this HR practice is not easy. If you see that, if you interview a computer science graduate in Nigeria, ask them what is computer science. It's not rocket science. I asked 3 questions when I meet. I don't even need you to know everything. 3 questions. Explain Turing test. What is ARPANET? What is computer science? 90% of them cannot explain.
I like getting the
expo. None of them can answer the question.
Wow.
See, the few that answer it, they want to think. I'm like, well, you say you study computer science. You see, it's not because we don't have expert level professors. I can give you, the Computer Professionals Council, they come there.
So my concern is, how do we even address this issue? Because of time, we need to have solutions to addressing this matter. So we know that we are moving in the right direction at the end of the day. And maybe you can just quickly add your question.
On that point you made, I wanted to just know that, does this have to do with the lack of capacity that you earlier mentioned, or the systemic problems that we have? But then how is it the fault of the young professional?
No, I've not said it's anybody's fault.
No, I'm not saying.
But you are correct. It's a systemic problem. Okay. Because we have professionals. You see, I argue with my young professionals that work with me, and they our professors are so helping us in school. I say, no, you think it's easy to research and teach you. You think it's easy. You fund them, you will see professors, they know what they go read, that they will teach you. It's not easy. Fund the university. They know what to read to teach you. I've given an example. I was once approached by a member of the Association of Vice Chancellors. They're working on an AI project. And we said, Stephen, we're trying to use Moses, which is a toolkit for AI. And I was impressed. I was like, so these guys are actually, I say they don't have brain. No. But you see, it's not pancake that will make someone research overnight, month, and come and teach you in class. Yeah. So you should read what I've studied in 1982. Go and debut on it yourself. That's still any vision. For God help us.
Now, I asked the question, so how do we move? How do we know we are moving from here? Where do we begin to understand?
I'm one of those that believe more in the Ministry of Science and Technology than Innovation, Communication, and Digital Economy. I'm watching that ministry more than I'm actually. I believe both affect what I do daily, but I'm more interested in the science. We need to work with the experts in the industry, from the academia to the professionals. You see, if we don't do research, computational research, build some things that are very dynamic and unique to us, so we have a sense of ownership, we can build our own scientific repository of data oil. We need that. If you fund them, things will solve. The problem will be solved, basically.
All right. And I know we don't have time, but in terms of deliverables, the president too has talked about 1 million jobs. Do you think that?
I think that's good. That's good. Man must job. We need jobs.
And that is realistic.
Very, very. It's possible. It's possible.
He just wants to end on a good note.
All right.
Stephen Odia, technology expert and CEO of City Group. Thank you. Thank you for your time on the program.